Hi, my name is Stephen McGee and I'm the author of Health Forensics. And we're here to review this experiment. And this experiment involves growing plants electrically in contact with an electrified floor and also insulated from the electrified floor. So this is a plastic insulator. So this plant is electrically in contact with the floor, with its soil. This plant is insulated from the floor with its soil, but is in the electromagnetic field that the floor is emitting. Now this is my kitchen, and I run this experiment in 3 rooms in the home. It's the kitchen, it's the front hallway, and it's the master bathroom at the back of the house. So they're the 3 tiled floors in my home, and they have various forms of electrification on them. And that gives various forms of growth. And we're going to start at the worst floor and we're going to work our way through to the best. Now this is the worst floor. So in 2015, all my plants that I grew in this location started to die, and that coincided with a lot of solar photovoltaic systems being installed in the neighborhood. And as we can see, the plant death effect is still in process, and this plant appears to have now died. And this one is very close to death. You can see that the leaves there does have a very shiny and glossy. These are Dieffenbachia plants, and they typically have leaves the size of your hand. You can clearly see that this is not any form of Dieffenbachia that is healthy. It's very sick, and this one is even sicker. So this plant has foil strips coming out of its base, and that electrically contacts it with this foil base, which is electrically in contact with the floor. So this plant has stray voltage on it, and it's not faring very well at all. Now this one has a plastic insulating base. It's not electrically in contact with the floor, but it is in the electromagnetic fields that the floor is emitting, and it doesn't like them. So it's very comparable what's going on in these 2 plants. So it seems to be an electromagnetic field effect that is occurring to make both of them so sickly. So I have another plant over here which is involved with this experiment. Now this one was placed on top of the kitchen counter. As you can see, it's off the floor. It's out of the same batch, it was bought at the same time. And you can see it's a very different plant, and all my plants deform in this location because of radio frequency exposure from utility transmitting meters and cell phone towers that are in the area, and we're very close to the utility transmitting meters and the electrical fuse board in this location. And this is very consistent with what I see in this location. So it's alive, it's growing, but it's growing deformed, but it is far better than what is going on down here. So this is the worst room in the house for running this experiment. So let's go and look at the next best room. So we're in the front hallway of my home, and there's the window right there. And these plants have been growing in this location for a number of years now. I'm going to have a little look at them. So the reason why there's more plants in this location is they have not been dying in this location. So we got one from December 2014, we got April 2013, and we've got February 2014. And this is our insulated plant, which is August 2014. So things are better here, and the very typical growth that we get in this location are these small leaves. So you can see that the plant is very stressed in this location. These are Dieffenbachias. They typically have leaves the size of your hand. These clearly are not the size of your hand, and the patterning's gone. And they're showing the glossy leaf effect from radio frequency exposure. So the thing you'll notice is this one is very comparable to this one. And this one on the insulated base is also very comparable. So you've got 3 plants out of 4 that are very comparable. Now this one's the outlier. So in February 2014, I placed this in this location, and this one grew much taller than the rest. As you can see, it's about 1.5 times bigger. And it also has better leaf growth. So this one is quite different, and I believe the difference in this plant is to do with something I was doing at that time, which was I was changing the electromagnetic environment of this location, because I noticed that a tree at the front of my home was emitting electromagnetic fields, and I cut it down, and that coincided around the time that this plant was placed in this location, and it had its electromagnetic field changed. So it appears that you change the electromagnetic field at just the right time when the plant is deforming and adapting to a location, that you can actually get a enhanced growth plant, and that's what we got in this location. So that's an outlier. That's my theory behind it, and you can see that 3 out of 4 are almost identical in the leaf growth. So this is the front hallway. It's certainly better than the kitchen floor, but we're not getting very good growth in this location. So let's go and take a look at the floor in the master bathroom. So here we are in the master bathroom, and we have similar plants all grown in contact with the floor on the left and insulated from the floor on the right. And you see that these plants are very, very different from what we previously looked at. Now these are Dieffenbachias, and anybody who grows Dieffenbachia will say, yeah, these are Dieffenbachias. They're very recognizable for their pattern leaves, a very large leaf, and it's a very pretty plant. So you can clearly see that electrically connected to the floor, or insulated from the floor, is producing very comparable growth. So my conclusion with this experiment is that what is deforming the plants is not the electricity contact with the floor, but it's the field emission from the floor, because the field emission goes straight through that plastic, and this plant exhibits comparable growth to the Electrified plant in all 3 locations. So let's take a little look at the individual plants. So down here we have a February 2014 plant, looking very healthy. We have a December 2014 plant, it's looking healthy. And we have an April 2013 plant, which also looks healthy. And this is our insulated plant, and this is an August 2014 plant. So that was the conclusion of the Electrified floor experiment, and that is that the floors in your home are going to exhibit different plant growth properties depending on how much electrification there is. And this is the least electrified floor because it's the furthest floor from the electrical fuse board, and it's the furthest floor from the street where all the utility equipment is. So it makes a big difference between being near to the utility equipment and being far away from it. And this experiment is showing that the preference is to be far away from the utility equipment, the street, and the electrical ground rods. I hope you enjoyed the presentation, and I wish you the very best of health. Thank you.